Malcolm in the Middle, revival, reboot, whatever you want to call it. Life's still unfair. Long wait for this one. We had to wait 20 years after the series finale back in May 2006. We had to wait like 20 years for some kind of revival or reboot to hit the TV, to hit the TV airwaves again. So, or to see Malcolm again. So, I don't know. Like, I saw the revival. I saw the four episodes. I saw all of them at once because just better to watch it as soon as possible so you can avoid spoilers before you read it on the internet. But anyways, I saw the whole four episodes, and I liked it, but it could have been a lot better. I don't know. I feel like you get closure with the characters and you find out where everybody's been the last 20 years. And, some of it works, but some of it doesn't. And I'll get into this. Right now. Now, Malcolm in the Middle has a special place in my heart because I've been watching that show since the year 2000. And that show was like one of the first, like, sitcoms I would watch. I would watch Malcolm in the Middle and The Simpsons like over and over again back in the 2000s to 2005 or 6 or whatever. So I love The Simpsons and Malcolm in the Middle. These are the only TV shows I would try to keep up on. So I loved Malcolm in the Middle. I thought his what do you call it, relationship with his brothers was like my relationship with my brothers. Like I have one older brother, one younger brother, and we would at times get into fights like Malcolm, Reese, and Dewey and Francis would get into fights, etc. So that this show had a special place with me because of how realistically it showed the lower middle class. Like Malcolm's family's poor, and we see that in the original show that they always had to. Money was always a problem for them. They always had to struggle with money, or they had always had money problems. So a lot of families can relate to that. So this show, as someone put it on a blog, is a socialist masterpiece. It got the middle class right. So that's the cool thing about it. The thing now, getting to the revival, I'm talking too much about the OG. Now, getting to the revival, I think the revival, there's a lot of good things in it. And all right, let's start with the good things about this revival. Let's get into the pros. Let's get into the cons. The good thing about this revival, the pros, is that everybody except Dewey comes back, or the Dewey actor, Eric Purcell, comes back. So that's a good thing, is that we get all the OGs from the original show, except for Dewey. So that's good. The other thing that's good is it feels like Malcolm. It feels like Malcolm in the Middle just later. So it feels like Malcolm in the Middle, an episode of Malcolm in the Middle, just way later. So the feel of the show is the same. It still has that same cutaways, the same humor, and the same like directing style, and the same energy as the other show is what I'm trying to say. The other thing I liked about this revival is that several supporting characters come back. Stevie comes back, and it's revealed that Stevie is gay with he has a son, and his partner is Glenn, and Stevie's father comes back, Abe, and Hal's poker buddies come back, and even Craig Feldspar comes back, and he's still working, this dead end retail job at some big corporation. So I thought that was cool that Craig Feldspar, Stevie come back, etc. The thing that surprised me was what's his name, Richie coming back. I wasn't expecting that, and the Calborns, or the Malcolm's friends in middle school or high school, Kevin, Daphne, Lloyd, they come back too, and was very that was very surprising to me because we haven't seen those guys since like season 6 or season 5 of the show. They kind of faded away in the later seasons, and Stevie took over as his best friend, or like his only friend that he would interact with. So them coming back was a big surprise. I wasn't expecting that. The other thing was Francis's military buddies coming back. I thought that was cool that that his military buddies come back. Eric and the other guys, I don't remember their names at the top of my head, but I thought that was cool that, you know, Francis's military buddies come back, our military classmates come back. So that's one of the good things about this revival, is that it respects the OGs, or the original characters from the original series. So that's one of the things I liked. The other thing I liked was the fact that is that Malcolm's interaction with his daughter. I think that was cool because he's seen as a single parent, and I think him and his daughter. I like the fact that his daughter also has that breaking the fourth wall powers that he has in the original show. So that was cool that only Malcolm and his offspring have that ability or that power to break the fourth wall. Nobody else has that except them. So that's pretty cool about the show. So I like Malcolm's relationship with his daughter. I think that was him being a single father was pretty good. Was shown in a very good way in this show, or in this revival. So I like the relationship with his daughter. I liked her acting. I don't remember the actress's name, but the actress that was playing Leia, I thought she did a really good job playing, you know, a smart but kind of an aloof, snobby teenager who's always like complaining about everything and doesn't have any friends. So I think she captured Frankie Muniz's, you know, acting back in the day, back in the first few seasons of the show, the first 5 seasons. You remember how Malcolm's like always complaining, in when he's in high school, and how he's like alienated from everybody except, you know, his gifted, except for Stevie and a handful of the gifted program students like Kevin, Daphne, Lloyd. They were his friends. So he didn't have many friends. Malcolm, he didn't have any friends, and he would always like whine and complain. Well, his daughter does the same thing. She whines and complains. She doesn't have many friends. So I thought that was cool that his children are exactly like him. So that I thought that was pretty cool. That she's also really smart, but her intelligence kind of alienates her peers. So she's kind of a loner like he was in a way. So I thought that was cool. Now here's the thing which I don't like about this, and like I feel like you get closure with the family. I feel like Malcolm gets closure with his family, you know, et cetera, et cetera. What I don't like is that I don't like the way Reese is treated here. Reese is still like he has this, like, he just goes from job to job, and he has a failed marriage. Reese is basically still a failure after like 20 years. So I thought I don't know. I thought that was pretty sad because this guy could have, I don't know, he could have like started a restaurant or something. He could have been an amazing chef, but the show kind of puts him in a very bleak position where there's like little to no hope for Reese. And I thought that was pretty sad because the other characters are more or less successful. Like Dewey is very successful 20 years later. Even Francis has a good job, etc., as senior management or something. They don't go into details, but Reese is still seen as a failure in a lot of respects. You know, we see that he fails at every job. He's got a few failed marriages, etc., etc. So that's what I didn't like, the characterization of Reese. Well, to be fair, Reese was always seen as a hopeless child, so to speak. Like there's an episode in season 4, garage sale, I believe, where Hal says that Reese is just hopeless. So, it kind of like that kind of ties into this reboot or this revival. What happens to Reese? Reese is just not successful. He's just seen as a failure, and I thought that was pretty sad. That Hal's words were right. All those years later, Reese is hopeless. He's not going to succeed in anything. So that's kind of the sad part of. That's what I didn't like about this revival. I mean, at least Reese should have been, I don't know, like having some kind of like at least like restaurant job or something like that. But he doesn't even have that. So his cooking or his culinary skills go to waste. It's not even brought up in this revival. His cooking skills. So whatever happened to that? So that's kind of missing here. So that's one of the things I don't like about this revival. The other thing I don't like is, although Malcolm does get some closure with his family, he becomes, or he comes back to his family. He joins his family again. Although that happens, but I don't know. I feel like something's missing here. Like, I can't explain it, but I feel like it could have been so much better, because Malcolm here like barely interacts with his family. He only does it in the the final episode. He does interact with his brothers, etc. But I feel like something's like missing here. Like I feel like it could have been a lot better if, like, let's go to the graduation episode, right? Remember the graduation episode where Lois intentionally, or Lois refuses a high-paying job for Malcolm, and when the car explodes with Reese's mess, and then they're cleaning it up in the yard, and then Malcolm and Lois just go at each other because he feels like she's like ruining his life all the time. And she says that he has a higher destiny, that his destiny is to become a president of the United States. That is brought up in the finale, but it's not even, or how he's supposed to become the president of the United States. Like, that's brought up in the finale, in the final episode. But whatever happened to that? Like, why couldn't they just go with that? You see what I'm saying? Like, if that was Malcolm's destiny, if that was his parents' plan all along, why didn't Linwood Boomer or whoever, like Linwood Boomer, make the final episode about that? You see, or like this should have been extended one more episode where Malcolm realizes it's important for him to become the president of the United States and to fight for people like them, because he knows exactly what the lower middle class goes through in America because he's lived it. That, to me, would have been the better ending. Here, Malcolm, the finale is just Malcolm integrating into his family again, and that's good, that's fine, that's okay, but I feel like something's missing because it connects back to the graduation episode where Malcolm had a higher destiny, or he had a higher purpose other than being some kind of like self-serving individual who just gets the life of luxury and fun. I feel like Malcolm's destiny was to become, like, I love the final episode because it really emphasizes that being the president means something. It meant something back in 2006 where you have the power to help other people, etc. So that's what the show was hinting at. Here, it's not even like it's addressed very, very briefly, and then Lois was like, well, it was just a plan. It was just a plan for him, and if that plan didn't work, they had other plans for him. So that's kind of the gist of what we get here. But I feel like, I don't know, I feel like there's a lot missing with the final episode, because it just them partying, and then Malcolm just integrates himself back to his family, and his daughter's now part of his extended, or part of his what do you call it, nuclear family or his immediate family, and that's fine, that's good and well, but I feel like it's missing because like I feel like Malcolm has like a higher purpose. I feel like that would have been a good ending for Malcolm to become the president of the United States. I think that like that would have been his destiny, that would have been his purpose, that would have been where, you know, he was destined to help people like his family. Becoming the president would enable him to do that. So that was a cool, that would have been an awesome ending. Here it's not even like, it's just him integrating back to his family, etc., etc. So I don't know, I feel like there's something, I know I'm repeating myself, but I feel like it could have been so much better. Like the final episode could have been so much better than what we got, than what Linwood Boomer and the other writer gave us. It like, I feel like something's missing. And then the other issue is that his girlfriend Trishan just rejects his marriage proposal. I mean, that means their relationship is still like open-ended, and you don't get any kind of what do you call it? You don't get any kind of finality to their relationship. It's just open-ended. She just says, "Yeah, I'll have sex with you later," and then everybody applauses. But whatever, you know, even you can still have breakup sex or whatever. That doesn't mean they're still together. So I feel like her rejecting his marriage proposal was also a missed opportunity, because she should have accepted his marriage proposal, and then we know that they're going to be okay. They're going to be in a relationship, and you know, make it work years later. Or you know, there could have been some kind of there could have been some kind of connection between both of them, where, or the show should have at least had her accept his marriage proposal, and then we know that the Malcolm character is going to be okay. He's going to have a wife, and you know, his wife and his daughter are going to live happily ever after. I think that would have been a better closure, but the relationship is still open-ended. Like it's up in the air. We don't know what happens to them unless we get some other kind of revival years later, some kind of other reboot years later. Like we just don't know like what becomes of the relationship. So that's another problem, is that you don't get closure with the Malcolm character. He just comes back to his family, him and his daughter, and again, that's fine, that's well, but I feel like there's so much more that could have been done in the final episode, where we need some kind of what I'm trying to say is we need some kind of finality to the Malcolm character. We need some kind of closure with the character. We need to know that the character is going to what do you call it, live up to his destiny or live up to his potential. But we don't get that. We just, you know, it's just him accepting his family and coming back to his family. Him and his daughter just coming back to the family, which I get that, but that doesn't like, what I'm trying to say is it doesn't give the character of Malcolm his full potential. It just, I don't know, like the character is still up in the air, you know, like I feel like he had so much more. Like he had so much more purpose, so much more destiny, so much more to this character. And Linwood Boomer just writes that final episode where we don't know, like his relationship is still open-ended and his potential is not fully developed, or we're not given closure to what Malcolm can do. We're not given closure to Malcolm's destiny, like what he's supposed to do. I think the final episode in the OG, the graduation, where it's destined or it's hinted that he eventually becomes the president of the United States, all of that is just thrown out the window here, and it's not even like it's not actualized, it's not realized, which I think that was a big missed opportunity. Because I mean, I get that Malcolm's like successful with his business and all that, and he has a good relationship with his daughter. That's fine, but I feel like he could have been so much more. He could have been like he should have been the president. Malcolm, in the final episode, there should have been some kind of flash forward where Malcolm becomes the president and Lois and Hal are in the what do you call it, the White House, or the interrogation, or Malcolm's interrogation. They're standing there proud of him, that yes, now that he's president, he's going to help families like them, or he's going to help the poor or the middle class families like him, like where he comes from. So that would have been an awesome finale. This finale is just Malcolm. They're partying. He gets closure with his family. Him and his daughter and his girlfriend integrate themselves into the family again. So they're a family. All of them are a family again, except for Dewey. Dewey's off in Europe, being some kind of like playboy, being some kind of music genius playboy, whatever. I mean, I was never really a fan of that Dewey character anyways. But here it's just, I don't know. It could have been so much better is what I'm trying to say. Like Malcolm, I feel, had a greater destiny. So I don't know. This is just my 2 cents. This is what I didn't like about the finale. Again, it was beautifully shot. It was masterfully edited. It felt like Malcolm in the Middle, just later. And that's what I love about this revival or reboot. What I don't love is what happened to Reese and what happens to Malcolm. I feel like these two deserved some kind of happier ending. Like, I feel like Malcolm should have, like, this episode should have ended, like, if I was writing this episode, I would have ended it with Malcolm becoming the president after the party scene, and then just telling his family that, yes, you know what, I'm going to become the president. I'm going to fight for families like us, because I realize how important it is, years later. And the final scene of the show should have been Malcolm being president and his family standing proud, knowing that he's going to fight for families, or he's going to fight for families like them. That would have been the way, if I was writing this show, that's the way I would have ended it, with Malcolm being the president, because I feel like that's his highest potential, or that's his destiny, to help families like them. So I love in the graduation episode that it was hinted that eventually he becomes the president of America, but here that potential is not realized, which I feel like that was a huge missed opportunity for the character. Reese, I mean, I feel like he should have at least, I don't know, like at least have some kind of like stable restaurant or culinary arts job, I feel like. But Reese is still like a wasted character. He's seen as some kind of like dumb comic relief. Reese is kind of like Bart Simpson. Bart Simpson from The Simpsons, how Bart Simpson is always destined to be like a loser or a failure. Same thing with Reese. Reese here is like, now his fate is sealed as some kind of failure. He's always going to be a failure. And I feel like that's not doing the character justice, because I feel like Reese had some potential to at least, I don't know, like be a chef at a restaurant or open his own restaurant. And if like that was his character, like let's say that Reese was like, yeah, I failed at opening my own restaurant, etc. At least he did that. At least he accomplished that. At least, he accomplished opening his own restaurant, and even if it failed, at least he accomplished that. But here he's just going from job to job, marriage to marriage, and he's kind of like a hopeless cause, which makes me sad. But that was the character. That was always the character. So I don't know. I feel like there could have been more done with his. Like, the Reese character did have some potential, but it just wasted here. Same thing with Malcolm. Now I know Malcolm is successful in his business and all that, but I feel like, I don't know, there's something missing here. There's something. Malcolm's destiny was supposed to be greater. It was supposed to serve like he was supposed to serve some kind of higher purpose, where he fights for people or families like him. And being the president was an awesome idea in the graduation finale, in the OG finale. But here it's not even, it's brought up very briefly, and it's just forgotten about. So we don't know what happens to the Malcolm character. We just know that, him and his family are back together. But I feel like, I don't know, there's something missing here. It could have been so much better for the character if we at least get some kind of hint that yes, he's going to run for presidency. He's going to run for Congress or senator, and then eventually he's going to run for being the president. I think that would have been better. Like, the final scene is him being the president, him being voted in and giving his inauguration speech, and his whole family's looking at him proud, knowing that he's going to fight for families like them. That would have been a better finale. Like, that's the way I would have done it. Like, after this party scene, him and his whole family have some kind of heart-to-heart talk, and then his parents were like, yes, we need you to become president because we're still suffering all these years later, and we need someone like you to fight for people like us. So that would have motivated Malcolm to use his intelligence to eventually become the president. I think that would have been better, and Reese gives his side of the story, and Francis and all that, and I think that would have motivated Malcolm to become the president. But that all of that is missing here, and that really, really, really bothers me, that the character does not live up to his higher destiny or his higher potential or his higher purpose. And I don't know, that's one of the things I don't like about this revival, about this reboot, is the Malcolm character just had so much more potential, or had so much more purpose, and it's not realized here. So that's something that makes me sad, that Linwood Boomer, or like he should have, it really annoys me that we don't see what Malcolm can really do for the greater good, and that doesn't sit well with me. But anyways, I enjoyed the revival. I'm rambling on too much. I enjoyed it. I loved it. What do you guys think about it? Let me know in the comments below. What did you like about it? What did you dislike about it? What character were you surprised to see again? Let me know in the comments below what you guys think about this revival. I'll do another review later on, when I gather my thoughts a little bit, and I'll go into episode by episode review. But this is just my general review. Stay tuned for the next one.